Hello, onliners. It's Millerella coming to you from home. I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you did too. Today is Sunday, and I know we don't have school tomorrow, but you probably want to know what the plan is. And I'll try to give you a little bit of a summary of what you should have read and what's coming up. We're in the home stretch of Shakespeare's Hamlet, and you should have read the part where, let's see, last time I talked, Hamlet and his mom had a blowout, and he killed Polonius. He saw his dad's ghost. His mom didn't. Mom thinks he's literally lost his mind. What happens after that? All right, so Claudius gets Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He gives them secret letters, sealed letters for the King of England. And you find out there's a footnote in your reading that says that he's asking his friend, the King of England, to execute Hamlet upon arrival. So those are sealed letters that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are supposed to turn over to England. So Hamlet has to go and get on the ship. On the way, he meets Fortinbras. Fortinbras is back. That's the cat that was attacking Denmark at the beginning and whose uncle told him to knock it off. And he did, but he asked if he could get through Denmark to go attack Poland. So he's on his way to attack Poland. And Hamlet's like, hey, who are you guys? And they tell him. And he's like, well, what are you doing? We're going to attack Poland. And he says, like for some substantial piece of land. And one of the captains says, no, it's a piece of crap. I wouldn't even farm it for like 5 cents. So Hamlet says, well, they won't defend it then. And then the captain says, oh yeah, their troops are already there. We're going to engage in battle. So then Hamlet, again, kind of like after he sees the actor get all emotional about Hecuba in the scene that they reenacted, and he says to himself, gosh, if that guy can get that emotional over a fake character, why can't I kill Claudius? After Fortinbras leaves, Hamlet's like, why is this thing still to do, the kill Claudius? He's like, here, these guys are going to fight over what he calls an eggshell. It's a worthless piece of land. Soldiers are going to die, lose their lives for something stupid, and he still can't kill Claudius. So he basically calls himself a coward again. And this part irritated me as a reader. He vows at that moment to only think about revenge, but then he gets on a boat to England, so he's leaving. Just before that, though, too, he and the king kind of got into it because Hamlet hid Polonius's body and wouldn't tell anyone where it was for a while. Anyway, he says that you'll smell it eventually, basically, is what happens. All right, so Hamlet takes off on the boat. Laertes, meanwhile, in Paris, finds out that his dad is dead. And his dad is a really, a mucky muck. He's like second in command to the king and queen, their right-hand man. So kind of like, I don't know, a vice president would be. And nothing was said. There was no big funeral. They just buried him. And he should have had some kind of a ceremony. Laertes is to it. So he comes back from France, like secretly, and he's hitting all the pubs in town and gathering people up and telling them that Claudius killed his father. And a lot of times he's compared to Hamlet as a character who is much more dynamic because he wants to kill whoever killed his dad, like right now. And at the moment, he thinks it's the king. Keep in mind, too, he and Hamlet kind of grew up together, so they're friends. They would be on good terms. Also, something else that's happened in that family, Laertes' family, is Ophelia has truly gone mad. She's broken, completely broken. So, first of all, she thinks that Hamlet used her and lied to her about being in love with her, and we find out from her songs that it sounds like they had a physical relationship, even though her dad and her brother said don't do it. And because of that, she feels like Hamlet just used her for that, and she feels horrible. She was very close to her father, and he's dead. And not only that, but Hamlet killed him, and now Hamlet's gone. So while Hamlet pretended to be cray-cray, she really is cray-cray. She has lost it. And she's decided to sing for some reason. If you listen to the audio, in the textbook, it's kind of horrible singing. It's about as good as I can sing, I guess. But she's singing about her dad being dead. She goes back and forth between that and about how Hamlet basically used her, and she implies that because he slept with her, or she let him, that then he wasn't interested anymore. All right, so that happens, and then Laertes comes blasting in with these guys, these rioters, and they're saying Laertes should be king. And then the king calms him down a little bit and says, hold on a second. And then Gertrude chimes in, he didn't do it, it wasn't Claudius. And then Laertes is like, you better tell me what happened to my dad. So Claudius says, okay, we will calm down. We'll talk about this later. If you think after I've told you everything, I'm guilty in any way, you can have the throne. But we need to talk about this later. Meanwhile, Ophelia comes in and Laertes sees that his sister is completely trashed. Trashed as in crazy, broken. Not that she'll never be the same again. They have kind of a conversation, but now he's really upset about that too. I mean, he lost his dad and now his sister is just mentally fried. And so the king tells him that they will talk about, who the murderer is, and they will make sure that guy gets his, which would be Hamlet. All right, so scene 6 in Act 4, we will read on Tuesday in class. And that's, ironically, this is how Hamlet gets home. So he's on this ship, and you'll find out later that they were attacked by pirates. And they grappled with each other, which means they fought on board the ships. And during that, Hamlet ended up on the pirate ship. And then they kidnapped him. Meanwhile, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are still on the ship bound for England. And you'll find out later in the reading, Hamlet tells Horatio that while he was on their ship to England, he crept into Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's little cabin and felt around the dresser in the dark and found the letters, took him back to his cabin, opened them, and saw that he was supposed to be executed. So he rewrote the letters and had them say, execute Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and he had his dad's signet ring, so he used that and sealed the letters so it looked official and put them back into their cabins. So conveniently, he's kidnapped by pirates and on a different boat, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are on the way to England, not knowing they're going to hand papers to the king, telling the king to execute them. So Hamlet gets his revenge for those people. That'll be 3 people he's responsible for killing: Polonius and then his 2 ex-childhood friends. Pirates find out they have a prince on board, so they want to get some ransom. So he sends a letter to Claudius, and Claudius is like, crap. How could this be? This was a sure thing. Hamlet was supposed to go and be executed. So now he's trying to hatch up a new plan of how to get rid of Hamlet. So he tells Laertes all about, hey, it's Hamlet killed your dad. And Laertes wants to cut his throat in the church, he says. I'll do anything. I want to kill this guy for killing my dad. And then Claudius is like, I can't just do that because I love Gertrude and she loves her son, but I have an idea. So they start talking about how great Laertes is at sword fighting, that he has a reputation. And a couple months back, some guy from France who was great at horseback riding, there's a long thing about how he basically was one in the saddle with his horse. And he was talking up Laertes about how great he was at sword fighting and how fun it would be to see him fight Hamlet or anybody. And the king says when Hamlet heard that, he got really jealous because he thinks he can beat you, and I don't think he can. So he says, I'm going to arrange a sword fighting contest where everybody can bet. I'll lay wagers against you guys and odds. And I'll make sure that I have a goblet of wine for celebrating, and I'm going to put poison in it. Seems like poison is everybody's go-to plan in Shakespeare. He already used it on his brother anyway. So that's his plan. And then Laertes says, well, let's have a backup plan. I have poison too. Doesn't everybody have poison in their pantry? And he's going to put the tip of his sword in the poison. They're supposed to fight with what's called baited swords or unbaited swords, where they're covered. So you have the sword fight, but you can't actually hurt each other. So when you touch each other, that's like a hit, but you don't actually get hurt. Laertes is not going to have a cover on his. if he even scratches Hamlet with his poison, Hamlet's going to die. So that's their plan, and the foolproof backup plan. Act 5 only has 2 scenes in it. The first one, I'm going to make sure. Oh, shoot, I forgot. At the end of Act 4, we find out Ophelia drowns, so there's another casualty. She was singing about flowers earlier. She was making a flower garland and trying to hang it in a tree, is the story. And the branch broke. She fell in the water, and she just laid there singing. And then the water just kind of filled up her dress, and she sank and died. And so everybody's really sad about that. And Hamlet doesn't know she's dead yet. Act 5 starts out with the gravedigger scene. It's a famous one. A guy who's digging graves for a living. For a long time he's been doing it, and he's making jokes with his friend, and Hamlet comes across him. They talk about like whose grave he's digging, and they find a bunch of skulls, but one of the skulls is someone that Hamlet knew named Yorick. He was the king's jester. And so there's a lot of literature that's been written about Yorick's skull. Of course, Hamlet has a moment where he stares at the skull and like imagines it alive with its flesh on it, that he knew this person, and then he's marveling that that's all of our end, that we all are going to end up that way. Kind of an aha moment, I guess, for him. He's kind of a deep guy. And then he sees that there's a funeral going on, and it's Ophelia's, and he realizes she's dead, and he sees Laertes. And then Laertes is really emotional at the funeral, and he actually jumps into the grave and tells everybody to bury them both because he loved his sister so much. And then Hamlet shows up, and he's like, I loved your sister more than you did. Basically, they start fighting over who loved her more. And a fist fight. They have to be separated. And that is the end of that scene. The last scene is going to be Hamlet talking to Horatio, getting ready for this big sword fight. A servant comes in to tell him to get ready. And then I'm not going to talk about the sword fight yet because I don't know if we'll get that far this week, but it is great. The ending is fantastic. It's almost as good as Hammy and his Mammy's blowout. All right, I hope that helps. I know it was long. Your Major Works data sheets packets, I've just been like guessing the dates because I signed it so early. It won't be due until the day after we finish reading the play. Let me know if you have questions. Bye.